Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the second session of our Build and Buy series. Fraudsters are moving faster than traditional rules can keep up and making transaction monitoring more critical than ever. In today's session, we'll explore how AI can transform fraud detection and whether it makes more sense to build or buy your own solution or to build your own solution or buy a proven platform. Vikram, can you move the next slide? I'm Upasna, CEO of Bluebricks, and with me today we have Vikram Sareen, our co-founder and CTO, sharing his knowledge on this topic. We are Bluebricks, and we accelerate businesses worldwide with AI-first security and automation solutions.
And it's the first time we are doing it together, in the same screen.
Before we begin, just a quick housekeeping note. Today's session will run for around 20 to 25 minutes, followed by 5 minutes of Q&A. Please stay engaged and feel free to drop your questions in the chat. If you face any technical issues, just refresh or restart your browser. This session is being recorded, so you'll have access to the recording as well. So let's get into it. Fraud obviously does not play by the rule book, and that is the challenge. There aren't fixed patterns, and that is why monitoring cannot rely on fixed rules. At this stage, the stage that we are, in the industry right now, only AI has the ability to detect patterns that are likely to appear today and in the time to come. So it's about being proactive instead of reactive. And that's what exactly we are going to dive into today.
Yeah, great. I think, Sana, let's start with looking at something, where I think most of us do get an alert, which we see it on the screen, like, did you do the login here? Now, this can be a very simple thing where, bank sends it to you, or your, crypto platform sends it to you, or your insurance company sends it to you, which is great, right? So if it's not me, I can click no. But then it gets a little bit more complicated where when I am doing a transaction, early morning, and let's say in this example, it is Google, and it's actually asking me if I did it or not. Now, this is, again, a beautiful example of what can happen in the background. Now, this could be something very static, like a rule, or it could be a AI, working in the Go. So knowing Commonwealth Bank, I think it is from Australia. They are definitely implementing what we call it as AI-powered transaction monitoring and fraud detection. And that is what we're going to talk about today. So I just wanted to set the context that all of us have experienced something like this. But what's happening in the background, what engine is running, you won't see it, but it's definitely doing and protecting you. So I think...
That's right. Yeah. So fraudsters are not really limiting to a particular type of transaction, and every transaction is a target. That is the assumption that we have to start with. And so if that is the underlying assumption, which industry can afford to ignore an AI fraud monitoring system?
Yeah. No, that's a great question, because sometimes, we always think that it's not for me, or it doesn't apply to me, or it won't happen to me, right? So we always think that the world is idle and then nothing's going to go wrong. But I think regulators do obviously enforce certain things, penalties around it. And this is a little bit wordy slide, but it kind of puts across who is under the preview by the regulators or by compliance or as an industry standard, coming in. So obviously the most have or the must have, which should have it are, the banks, neobanks, lenders, card networks, Master, Visa. And there are these, I think, millions of, merchants that are doing this, online payments, commerce, crypto platforms, e-commerce platforms. So if you really look at it, anything which is part of our digital payment world, or so-called our digital world, not just payment, is kind of under this. So the answer to that question is that it kind of applies to anything and everything where there is a transaction. Because a transaction need not be monetary, it can be non-monetary also, but that is where the attack can happen, right? And the last one is that even the regulators, they themselves can actually, have, for what we call it as, looking at the compliance aspect, they can also put across like a nice AI powered, FRM, fraud risk, monitoring or mitigation into action. Yeah. So that I would say it's not, if you're doing anything with online, if you're doing anything digital, if you're doing anything where there's a transaction happening, I think you should look at this. If you have a large volume, yeah. If you have 100 customers, no. But if you have 10,000 customers, 1 million customer, 5 million customers, or so, and like millions of transactions, then you should definitely look at that. Yeah. So I think I'll take this slide. Now, why are we covering this topic is because we have built it. We have built it as a company, and so we will kind of showcase you what we have done, and then get into a little bit more interesting questions as we go along through this webinar. So I think Bluebricks, over last 9 years, we have built a whole army of I would say guards for you, which are here to protect you, either your employees, your data, your onboarding of your customers, identity, documents. And one of the key components, which obviously we offer, is what we call it as transaction and fraud monitoring. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today, what we have built. It took us almost 2 years to get it right. We started small, looking at simple rules. Then we looked at AI, ML playing a role in kind of looking at the risk. Then we moved into many, many layers, which we'll talk about later. But the journey has been fantastic for us, because we have seen the evolution over last, 3 or 4 years, where transaction monitoring has become more prominent now. And I think it's becoming something like industry standard. And I think yesterday, Indian regulator RBI also released a new mandate for bringing more authentication into the play. And one of the mentions over there was also looking at transaction monitoring and risk-based monitoring. Yeah?
Yes, that makes it more relevant today.
Totally. And I think going forward also.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. That's right. We shouldn't really be delaying our monitoring. Every second of delay, is resulting in loss.
Yes. So I'll just take a moment to share over here. So I was in one of the webinars, and Interpol person was talking about it, and he said that it's the pace of fraud is the biggest threat right now, and AI is making it so much faster because if we are using AI to protect, at the same time AI is also getting used for doing sophisticated phishing attacks, very quickly looking at how to steal, and write new code and everything. So it's a scary point. And I think this statement is very right, that the more we delay, the suspicion becomes a loss, and because if I'm looking at an engine which is rule-based, then I might be getting a trigger after 30 seconds or 1 minute because some human intervention has to happen. But if I'm looking at doing it less than a sub-second, and take care of the user experience, then that's the pace we are looking at. So it's not less than 30 seconds. Is now it's less than a second.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Money is going out of your bank account in less than 6 seconds. So it's very, very fast paced now. Yeah. So with that in mind, this architecture is something what you need to build. I will not take too much time explaining it, but what it essentially does is that this is the components where you have users coming in. So users obviously are doing the transaction. So can we start monitoring over there? And then also users like customers, are possibly asked for strong authentication, like which I showed earlier. Are you logging in now? Did you do this transaction? So that means you are definitely involving user where the fraud cannot be, cannot take place, and the consent of the user is there. Now, when we go inside that, there's a lot of amazing tech that gets used, which is from AI engines, which is what we're going to talk about. Then looking at Redis, looking at Kafka and stuff like that, where you are real time pulling the data from different sources over here, and then immediately processing it. So there is concept of what we call it as getting the raw data, which is coming from the user or from different places, like your ATM, if let's say it's a bank, or your internet banking, mobile banking. But then when you get that data, you're processing it, you are deriving new data, looking at that different things that are happening, right? Something in ATM, something is internet banking, and then you're also enriching data. So I'll give a simple example, is that there's a account which is recently opened, but that account is owned by a person who's on watch list. Now that means I need to quickly enrich the data. If somebody is on the watch list, their account is on the watch list, and it is getting the money, that means we need to track that immediately and enrich it and say, no, this is something wrong. We need to stop it, right? Now that could be IP, that could be devices, that could be servers, there could be many, many things, right? So there is raw data, there is enriched data, there is derived data, right? Derived data would be a calculation that is done on the data that you have got and then taken forward. And then going deeper down, you'll have, AI models, which will be more focused on not just the user, because Sana, the way you do banking, let's say over a weekend, you're doing transactions, you're paying your bills, will be different than when I do. I possibly do it on a Friday evening, right? Or a Friday morning. So, or I'm doing it from multiple places, like if I'm traveling to Singapore, India, Hong Kong, Sydney, and you're doing it differently. So that means there is a certain persona being created between us as an individual, which is our behavior. Now that becomes important because it is relevant when the fraud, can happen or cannot happen, right?
Correct.
So that means the system has to look at each user, create a different persona, and that is where AI plays a very beautiful role. Yeah.
Correct.
And then on top of that, if you look at the totality of the system, right? There are multiple channels, multiple users, there are policies, but that means there is a system that will work at an AI level, which will look at in totality. So there is a system global engine running, and then there is a user specific engine running, right? So it's a combination of these two, and then it goes to the third element, which is case management. So what is a case? Case is a possible, I wouldn't say fraud, but a possible fraud, suspicious activity. Now in that activity, we can engage the user that did you do it, not do it, which is very quick, or it will go into the case where, let's say if you have made a payment to somebody from Cambodia or made a payment to somebody in Nigeria, then the bank wants to know, show me the invoice, right? So that process gets offline, and then it gets through the compliance or the audit or the risk committee of the bank or of the organization, and then taken forward. So what I've done is, in a nutshell, I've shared with you how an engine will look like with different components, and that is something if somebody has to build, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort, right? Going into it. So what we'll do is we'll look into two things over here. The first thing is synchronous transaction.
Yes.
An example of synchronous transaction is when you're doing internet banking. Yeah? And another example is when you're doing an ATM withdrawal. Now that means the ATM machine is fixed, it is somewhere outside, and you're doing a transaction, right? Or you're withdrawing money. So now what we'll do is very quickly look at this part, which is over here. I'll just make it bigger so audience can see it well. And okay, let's just play it, my bad. Now this is very quickly just to show you. Okay, there's a case over there. So this is please keep on thinking that if I have to build it, what do I have to do, right? So this is a mock application where we're just saying, okay, it's a secure ATM that I would like to go for. So I'm going ahead. I'll just skip it a little bit forward. So I'm saying, okay, let's do a withdrawal. I'm saying how much money. Now this could be you or the fraudulent system doesn't know. So you're going ahead. You're entering the PIN. Now it was not the pattern, Sana, that you always go and withdraw, let's say $2,000, right? But that means there's a change in your behavior, right? So in that way, a push has come to you. Now this is where the FRM plays a beautiful role. And now it's coming in, and now it's going to send you a push message and then saying, okay, let's do it. So what you're seeing over here is, I think, yeah. Okay, I'm getting the push over here. Yeah, as you could see. And now in that, it's telling me the transaction that I've done over here, right? And now if it was not you, you would decline it, right? So even if you have your card being cloned or saved, the system is doing an out-of-band push using the AI engine and now telling you whether it's to be done or not, right? So now obviously the other example is of internet banking, but we'll kind of go ahead, go forward. Yeah. So many times, most of the way systems are being built is they're mostly looking at synchronous transactions, which are in band.
That's right.
But when you're looking and building a system, you have to look at asynchronous, which amplifies the magnitude of what you need to do and how you need to handle things. Yeah. So and now obviously there are some more. So we'll just take a very quick one, which is for e-commerce, because I think e-commerce is the most, I would say, attacked aspect, because that opens up the Pandora with the merchants and everything. So in this example, we are going through a cart. I'm ordering a phone. Let's say now this could be your internet banking, mobile banking, your cards, anything like that, right? But your engine has to work very well, correct? So in this example, we are taking UPI, which is a digital payment option in India, and then I can go ahead and who's the recipient, right? So there's a lot of QR code fraud that is happening. So this is something which can mitigate that also. Yeah. So now I think going deeper, so it's actually asking me, hey, let's do the multi-factor. Now, but what you didn't realize over here is that how did the system know to ask multi-factor, right? And that again goes back to your AI fraud engine, because the AI fraud engine makes decision. It will say allow this transaction because only $5, right? Allow or ask for multi-factor, like in this case, right? Or block the transaction completely, or make a push and raise it as a case and ask the user for consent, which we saw earlier. So these are a couple of examples of how the system is able to become flexible based on the decision that needs to be made. Yeah. Sorry, I think I gave a very long answer to this.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
So what leading up to this slide, where we're looking that fraud is also moving across different apps and channels.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so your defense and your the measures that you put in cannot actually live in silos.
Yes, very true. And I think that is what one has to really look at when you're building, or buying, when you're evaluating the platform or the solution, is that is it something that will actually help me with just one application, or let's say internet banking or mobile banking, right? And then, or it will, go across anything that I want to do and also go outwards to my merchants. Can I also protect them, right? Because we in a society, when we get protected, we should also take the responsibility of protecting others.
Absolutely.
So that is where it
It's
comes
all
down.
of us in the ecosystem.
Yes. So in this diagram, if you see how the system gets deployed, you could possibly have multiple channels. So it's a bit of a geeky example, but this is where the system gets deployed and, pulling data from different channels, and looking at different views of it and then making a decision over there, whether to take it or not take it, right? So again, not to get into a micro, but the idea is to have a system which will be able to create that kind of, atmosphere for you, where you can roll it out and it can protect multiple channels, applications, not within, but also externally.
Yes. And with that kind of scenario, obviously static rules cannot work.
Static rules?
Yes.
Okay.
Static rules cannot keep up with it because the context is completely very dynamic.
Yes, I would say there's a direct value between static rules and using AI. And what we do is that we actually suggest to use them both. And I'll explain you why. Because if you want to get very high performance, in let's say millions of transactions that are happening, the decision which is being made in a synchronous way, where you real time want to know whether it's fraud or not, static rules do make, or they can do sub half a second decision. Now that is very good to start with, but if you're having asynchronous transactions, or if you want to give or a high value transaction, that is where you're going to step in. So typically what happens is that you have different layers, so we call it defense in depth. So the first is static rules, policies, rules that you have set, like I don't want to allow certain countries. So geolocation blocking, high velocity blocking, right? So those kind of checks and bounds can be done by static rule very well.
That's correct.
Right? Now that's the first lens. And then the second is where the AI comes in.
Yes.
So you say, okay, hey, that guy did a transaction from Hong Kong. Now he's doing a transaction from Singapore. How can he do it in less than 1 hour or 15 minutes? So that means that is where AI can do a wonderful job, either as a global or as a user profile, right? So it is not, I think, more about static rules being outpaced, but it's just that static rules assisted with AI will become a much powerful tool.
That's right.
So that's where AI versus AI comes in, right? So bad guys are using AI. We talked about a little bit earlier, and then obviously we are using AI to defend that. It's the same example, like if you have a gun or a knife, it can be used.
Tool.
It's a tool, exactly. It's a tool. So you can use it to do harm, or you can use it to do good. Now, what I would like to share with you over here is that a very quick short video of to show you that this is multiple channels. Then you want to go into rules. Now, when you get into rules, there is the likeliness of the rule, the impact of the rule, and also the confidence of the rule, whether it will happen or not, right? Like if you say tsunami will come again, now what is the likeliness? What is the impact? And what is the confidence level of that happening, right? So you have to look at that aspect, right? So it's a marriage between how you look at your rules, how you look at static rules, and how you look at your AI playing a role over there, right? Now, in this example, what you see on your screen is there are multiple rules, dynamic rules, self-configurable rules, which you can create on your channel. But they are the first line of defense for you. Yeah. So it's a very, very beautiful, so you can you say that AI will replace it, replace rules? No. Right? Is static enough? No. Right? Answer is we need to use them both. And this is what I was talking about, likeliness, impact, and confidence. So you can define how you want to do it. There are some more parameters. We won't talk about it. It gets a bit too technical. But the system should be able to create flexibility to have rules, flexible rules, dynamic rules, the way you want it, not hard coded, and also bring the AI. And this is where the AI coming in, which I was talking about, user level, going forward, and then I think getting them configured over. So I think we will not dive deeper into it, but whatever system we want to look into should be able to handle both the aspects, rules and not the rules. So that is my take on it. Into kind of building something or buying something. Yeah. Okay. So I think when millions of transactions are flying, flying in and out, right? And almost 40% of transactions are balance inquiry, which is good, but that's also can be dangerous. But in a way, we can ignore quite of it. But then whatever is remaining is good. Is that firstly, are we measuring volume or are we measuring velocity, right? Or mastering velocity? It's hard to answer because both are needed, right? You need to look at the volume that is coming in. And you also need to look at the velocity of things happening, right? When we talked about sub-zero, sub-second kind of transactions, right?
That's right.
Going forward. So in this, what I'm showing you is, so I'm just showing you that, if you have internet banking, ATM, e-commerce, which is coming in, then you will have a lot of transactions that are going inside, and then, looking at the volume around it. So this diagram is just showing you a different aspect, which is what will happen with the accuracy. Do I introduce false positive, right? So that is where this comes in, correct? That what is the accuracy? What is the false acceptance ratio? What is the false rejection ratio? Because I cannot, if somebody is doing a transaction and it's very, very important for them, and they are a genuine customer of mine, but I have falsely rejected.
Correct.
Now, this will create a lot of discomfort and a frustration, right? So this is where the volume and velocity, argument kind of holds true. That am I creating nuisance for my customers, or am I really helping them? Correct? I cannot keep on asking them multi-factor all the time. That also becomes a nuisance.
Yes,
right?
Which is why the individual personas that are created
is very, very important. So so what this shows is that, like if you're looking at volume of transaction, and also if you're looking at what are the elements of measuring it, correct? This kind of comes and plays in role. So the question does start with volume and velocity, but actually it maps down to the performance of the engine that you're going to use, right? Is it going to perform at a high velocity? Is it going to perform at high volume with these metrics, right? So this is where I think the answer needs to be kind of derived out of, not saying I will support 10 million per second. That's not the right answer, because you might have huge amount of false positives. And you're like, yeah, I do support 10 million per second, but then, okay, I have, 50,000 transactions, which leads to frustrated customers, right? And so on, right? So I think we are kind of nearing towards it. Another one. So
yes, no, that's true. End of day, that's coming from what we were just talking right now. Our teams, our customers, fraudsters, everybody's human. We're dealing, we're dealing with humans. So it's very important to consider training trusting, testing systems and people.
Yes.
So it's very important for all of that to come together.
Correct.
It's not just a machine that's working.
It's not. It's. See, again, we always have to map it out that how we're going to solve the problem. Are we going to use the people to solve it? Are we going to use technology or the product to solve it? Or are we going to solve it as a process? But I think building a fraud engine is bringing all three together. So your analysts who are going to be, you're the guys who are going to build it, then, and then your customers who are actually going to be the end users of it should not get frauded out, or, theft should happen.
Have a good experience.
Yes. And on the other hand, you have Okay, I think we had some technical difficulty, but I think we are we should be back. Yeah.
Sorted that out quickly. So we were talking about, are we investing in stopping fraud or building a fraud lab?
Yeah.
And we have already overshot our time.
Okay. It depends who is answering this question. So if you are a fintech who's focused more on lending, right, or a neobank or a crypto platform, then you are more interested in stopping the fraud.
Yeah.
You are not interested in
Yes.
building a fraud lab, right?
Yes.
And so there's always a thin balance.
What is your core business?
What is your core business?
Yeah.
Exactly. So if it's a byproduct, why not, right? Make it, sell it. But if you really want to look at it, so build or buy, the comparison would be boiling down to a couple of things that you have to do, which is over here. Here, if you look at the speed of deployment, like if a compliance is sitting on your head, like I know UAE has said that by March 2026 you have to release out the system. So now if you plan to build it, you'll miss the boat, right?
Yes.
So for you, the better is to buy, right?
Yes.
Then cost. So if you want to hold the whole IP, you want to create it yourself because that's a very integral part of your business, right? Then you need to build it.
Yeah.
But then it involves heavy investment.
Investment, and also the next point, getting the right kind of talent. And then working around with that, people coming in, leaving,
Yes,
making
yes.
sure things are working.
Yes, if you can build AI to build AI system for something like this possible, but again,
Yeah.
I think it does not. It might make it faster for you, but again, it will not, do the critical thinking like the way humans can do. And us as a vendor, we have, because we live and breathe into it. So one was the question which was asked, by a very senior person, from an insurance company. He said that why should I buy from you or any other vendor? I said, if you're going to solve the problem, you're going to solve it like a project.
Yes.
But when you are a vendor, when you are a builder, when you are an innovative company, you are going to go deeper and deeper and deeper, solve that problem, right?
Yes.
Now, as you could see that this is one of the 9 things for us, right? But then we have got into this much deeper, right?
Yes.
And
So
then
it's the maturity, that starts to reflect.
that's, yes, correct. Because we are thinking of what
Yes.
else can go inside, instead of just thinking like a project and then closing it, right? And then it's a different muscle,
Yeah,
doing a
that's
project
correct.
versus doing a product, and adaptability and compliance, right? So again, that's the thin balance that you have to look into. Now, I think, Sana, I'll try to cover this slide, but it's kind of self-explanatory that, what we need to do over here. As an immediate takeaway, if you're building or buying, this is something you need to look at or engage with us directly, as we say. And there's a data sheet available for you if you want to, get access to what we have built and, want to engage with us to know how we have created this whole platform and then how you can use it. Static, dynamic, or, AI driven, whichever way, multi-channel, omni-channel, all that kind of stuff is what we can, is mentioned, and then kind of this thing there. And then the last one, I think, which we always cover, if you want to know from us, what are the gaps that you have, or if you want to build, or you want to buy, we will support you in whatever decision you make. Yeah. So we do bespoke development also, and that's where I think we are saying that we can help you, build it if you decide to. Yeah. So with that, I think thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we've overshot the time, but thank you so much.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time for the next series.
Yeah. Cheers. Thank you.